Good afternoon. I'm Sarah Gomes with Job Service Kalispell. Thank you for joining us this March to attend our second Blueprint for Business Success seminar in 2023. Virtual attendees are muted during the presentation, but we encourage you to use the chat box to ask questions, which will be monitored and answered as time allows. As always, we do ask that all of your questions and comments are polite and respectful to both attendees and the presenter. And your voice matters. In the anonymous 2-minute survey that will be provided at the end of the seminar, viewer participation helps us improve this program and continue delivering relevant topics and content to Montana businesses. And today, we have the privilege of learning about a marketing perspective that can make your business attractive job seekers and passive candidates worth recruiting. Please allow me to introduce the subject matter expert presenting today, Josh Kroll, Vice President of Marketing and Business Development at Parkside Credit Union. Also, the 2023 Employer of Choice Award winner. Congratulations. And he is a branding expert. His nonprofit and community achievements include leadership roles at the Samaritan House, the Bob Marshall Wilderness Foundation, North Valley Music School, and Leadership Flathead. He's a triathlete, a musician, and enjoys anything outdoors with his wife and 2 sons. He likes to say yes. Now it's time to learn how to get what you really want, the right people in the right role at the right time. Please welcome Josh Kroll.
Thank you, Sarah, and welcome everyone. It's great to see such a huge crowd here and everyone joining remotely. Glad to have you. A little bit about myself. I grew up in northern Wisconsin, which is a great place, terrific place, a lot like here. Forests, rivers, lakes, missing one big thing, some mountains, and that's why I will stay here. But it's a great place to be from. And after college, I packed up my car and drove to Montana, drove west, right? A west young man. I was ready to do something new, worked a summer in Glacier Park. I packed up everything I had. I couldn't fit one item, which was any musicians in here. It was a guitar amp, right? It was a Fender Hot Rod DeVille. I love that thing, a tube amp. Couldn't fit. It was so huge and so heavy into my little green Oldsmobile, it just wouldn't fit. But I hit the road anyway with everything else I owned. Got out to Glacier Park a little early. May 23rd, I remember, was the date. They weren't quite ready for me, but I was so excited that, I just came. I was supposed to serve tables. I worked in restaurants my whole young adult life and through college. And I got here, I was supposed to serve tables at Many Glacier in the dining room there. But I got here so early that they put me at like McDonald Lodge, unloading things, unpacking things, because as you know, May 23rd is pretty early around here. Nothing's really happening. But so I was there, and a few days later, I'll just say it this way, my wife walked in, my future wife walked in. I didn't know what was going on. She was there from Michigan. We were there together in this little gift shop, and somebody said, well, it's time for you to go to the other place. And I said, I think I'll just stay. Is that all right? And so she and I worked that summer in Glacier. Just a special place for us, and it always will be. That was 2005, and a few years later, we moved back to the Midwest, got married a few years later, moved back out to Montana to kind of start our lives together. And that was 14 years ago. And so I'm over 10 years, so I feel like not native Montanan, but a local, I think, at this point in time. So I feel welcome anyway. I feel at home. But 14 years, and that's when I started at Parkside Credit Union. And in all of that time, we have never been fully staffed. Fully staffed, never, right? It's always right there. It's always the next, we'll get there soon. It's seasonal, those type of things. But it's a constant challenge, sometimes a struggle, a consistent struggle. And today we're talking about recruitment. So we will always and forever be recruiting, right? Because we're never quite there. And it depends. I'm sure we have a lot of different people here, single business owners, larger organizations. Each of you have your own story and how that works for you. But it's something that always seems to elude us. And it's just around the corner, right? Being fully staffed, a great mystery of the universe, but it's also a great opportunity. One of my favorite quotes, I think it's attributed to Winston Churchill, is that a pessimist sees difficulty in every opportunity, whereas an optimist sees opportunity in every difficulty. And so recruitment is definitely a challenge, can be difficult, but it's an opportunity. And today, I think the one thing I want us all to leave here with is understanding that recruitment is marketing. It can't be looked at in any other way. And some of you may have a background in both, may be very skilled at either of these disciplines. But we are selling a setting, right? A situation, security, satisfaction to the people that we are recruiting. And so if that's what we can leave here with, saying, well, how do we approach that from a marketing point of view? Because a lot of us might think those two things are separate. Now, for you in the room, the slides are behind you online. You can see those as I advance here. The first concept that I want to talk about is, we'll call it the power of a one-liner, a catchphrase, the power of simplicity. And you may have heard, if you're around and you listen and you keep your eyes open, you may have heard of us and our brand. We like to say yes. You may have heard me say that. I'll tell you a little story about that. Years ago, when we rebranded the credit union, it's been a while now, but what we did was talk to our members that own the credit union. If you're not banking at a credit union, you should be. It's a not-for-profit financial institution, cooperative model. You own the place, your member owner value is returned to you in better rates and lower fees, and I'll turn it off. That's a little marketing pitch for you, but we like to say yes. We talk to our members. It's not just a line. It means a lot more, especially to those of us internally. We talk to our members and they told us, in focus groups and surveys, they told us, you're different than other financial institutions. And we said, well, how is that? So when one place might give us reasons why they want to deny a loan request or excuses, when we come to you, eventually it seems like you look to approve and you look for reasons to grant the request. And so we kind of shape that and develop that into, we like to say, yes, what do you want to hear when you go ask somebody for money, right? What's the last thing you want to hear? No. So this is a positive, optimistic take on what we heard from our members and what we felt like set us apart. And I just we're going to go take this a little further here. The power of simplicity. Another iteration of that is kind of our mission statement here. Best place to get a loan. Simple, it's quick, it's easy, it's what we're about. And my favorite part is that each of these things, if intriguing enough, invite a conversation, begs the question, what do you mean by that? We like to say yes. What does that mean? Who doesn't like to say yes and why? And same with the best place to get a loan. It is, well, tell me how, what matters, and we'll have answers to that in terms of better rates, lower fees, whether it's the terms, the application process, the software that we've invested in online, the environment, the people that we have recruited and retain. These are the things that set us apart. And we try hard to say those and repeat those in a catchy, intriguing one-liner. And so we're going to do that in a minute together. But that's what people liked about us. And we're going to take it further. And I bring this up not only to market our own organization, but to take it further to recruitment. And so I want everyone to think about joining remotely and absolutely here in the room, what is the one thing that sets you apart as an employer that you can state in one sentence? I want you to think about that. And this is a concept of differentiation. Here you have a pad of paper. I want everybody to write it down. We're going to take just a minute. Think about it. If you don't know it, that's okay, because we'll describe it a little bit and we'll get into some ideas on how to create this. But what is the one feature of employment at your business that you could state in one sentence that sets you apart? It may be challenging. It probably should be challenging. And if you're joining remotely, go ahead and put that in the chat once you come up with that. And we didn't trademark it, but you may not use, we like to say yes. One sentence, one phrase even. As an employer, what sets you apart? Because people don't often listen beyond that, right? We know that, our attention spans. Plus, a lot of people are saying the same thing. How do you say something succinctly that makes you different as an employer and therefore can be used in recruitment? So yeah, we have a number, I'm sure, of attendees that we can see. We have a number. And so we should have fairly close to that in terms of responses. Otherwise, we know that you're not fully engaged. All right, let's go to this room. Those in person, anybody want to volunteer what you came up with, or at least the train of thought?
I can.
Sure, thank you.
Well, initially we had kind of I'm with Jacoll Engineering in our
Okay.
here.
Hey, nice to work with you
Yeah.
on many projects.
Yes. And when my dad, I'm part of the family. When my dad started the business, and he was very community minded, really not much of a businessman. And it really was that he wanted to be the trusted solutions company, and he really was invested in the community. As we've grown, and as maybe in that you need to market yourself to employees, that's changed in the last 20 years for sure. I think that we really are invested in the phrase I came up with, we are invested in your professional growth. That is our perception from an employer standpoint. So I don't know if that's exactly coincides with, but those are the two things that came to mind.
Yeah, great. What was your first name?
Mindy.
Mindy from Jacoll Engineering talked about, we are invested in your personal growth. And that's what you're saying, is it? That's what you stand for. That's what you're about. That's what may set you apart.
From an employment perspective.
Right. Yeah, then let's reframe that too, because I did use the example of our business and our public image, but we're talking today, kind of combining the two topics. Hopefully that doesn't get confusing. A marketing approach, marketing your business versus marketing your job opportunities, rethinking recruitment. But great job reframing that. Anybody else here in this room? Sarah?
Totally free workforce development for Montana.
Totally free workforce development for Montana. There it is. And the benefit, the what's in it for me, right, is the totally free. Sets you apart, perhaps. Yeah, good. So we have a good job over here, and we have a great job here. I could go for one or two more from this room. I think it's helpful. I think it helps everybody else think about it. And even as you're doing it, maybe pay attention to, is what I am thinking, is it different? Does it stand out? Because we might all say similar things, right? Workforce development, professional opportunities, we probably do offer those things. Is that enough to set us apart? Or do we at least figure out a way to state it in something, in a unique way? Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, I have a quick one. So a lot of what I do at Bass Pro Cabela's, we are very passionate about conservation and the outdoors as a whole. And I typically work that into the recruiting process, and everybody in our store has the opportunity to contribute to that and be a part of that mission. And obviously we have a lot of corporate donations and things that we do at the upper levels, but even at our local store levels, we have that power and freedom as an individual store to really give back to the community and do what we can. And with that, we've basically been able to build a very positive work culture around people that are all super passionate about it. So
yeah,
I build that into everything I do.
Yeah, job opportunities. It's a great opportunity for a new, and Josh, right?
Yeah, Josh.
From Bass Pro Shops, Cabela's, talking about how to build in the idea of conservation, give somebody something more than just a job, but an ability to be a part of something bigger. That's really neat. Laura, do we have anything online? No comments. How many people are online?
34.
34. Now, I'm not a mathematician, I'm a banker. 0 out of 34. We'll get you, we'll come back to you next time. Anybody else that I missed? Otherwise, we'll kind of keep moving forward here. Culture, you're all probably pretty familiar with employee culture. You know, it's kind of a buzzword, and what does that mean? A lot of different definitions today. What I'm going to use is how it feels to work at your business. And another definition that I like is what governs behavior in the absence of rules. So how do people act when you don't tell them what to do? How do people act? And this is a big deal because you've got to have the foundation. We've got to lay the foundation in order to then take the marketing approach. It's hard to market a business or anything if you don't understand it fully from the inside out. And what the process that I want to kind of walk us through here is when developing a culture, the steps are that first you need to figure it out, develop it, define it. What is it like to work here? I know we've been working on it. We've been working at having a great employee culture. What is it? Can I say what it is? State it is kind of the exercise we just did in saying, okay, I know what it is and we are living it. But how do I say that? How do I communicate that to somebody? Because if you might be thinking, if they don't work here, they can't, it's hard for them to know. You just have to, you know, that sort of desperate, you just have to start working here and then you'll feel it. That's great. And that's probably true, but we're talking about recruitment today. So how do we get somebody to understand and know and feel that without yet working at your business? And then of course, repeat might be the most important because if you do all of that work, if we develop it, define it and state it brilliantly, and then they don't hear it ever again, you know, or it's as you might have heard over and over, it's on the wall. I walk by it every day, but I couldn't tell you what it says. So it needs to be repeated, and ways to do that are in administrative language, emails, staff meetings, any place at all. They should show up. It should be in leadership language regularly. And just give a couple of examples, you know, that we came up with. We call them brand behaviors. In fact, we really took a marketing approach to it. And I love that because it tells people, here's how to act. You know, you can't force somebody to do something, but as I mentioned, if you lay it out and say, these are the things we do here. This is what it feels like to work here. And we state things like take pleasure in creativity as one of ours. Possess a dedication to perfection, make banking fun. Those are some of the things that we put out there, and we've got a list, right? Everybody does, and it's core values is sometimes how people refer to that, but I want to draw attention also to the point, again, repeating those, take pleasure in creativity, possess a dedication to perfection, make banking fun. These are action words, and it should lead to behavior, and hence we call them brand behaviors. But this is, how else would an employee know how to fit in, you know, and how to succeed unless we state that, unless we tell it. And it needs to be, you know, I'm a big fan of alliteration. So almost everything at Parkside in our marketing starts with a P. Our partner program, Parkside Pays, we have 4 pillars: pride, professionalism, passion, purpose. And that's about how far it goes. Everybody likes it though. They come to me with ideas and they say, we're going to call this a professional development program. That was a great idea. PD perks, you know, professional development perks, rewards for developing yourself. I said, that's terrific. At least it starts with a P and we have the first box checked. But the point is, people can remember that. And that's why we are going to continually refer back to that first exercise. You've got to make it easy to understand. You've seen these mission statements where they go on and on and on, and even the CEO couldn't say that again. And of course, a lot of times, which is why I challenge you to make it stand out, because all of them include honesty and integrity and the words that should be a given, right? You know, we strive for an integrity, you know, an ethical approach to business with honesty and integrity. It's like, well, I hope so. You know, what else are you doing? If you're trying to serve people, you better have those things in place. So marketing is taking it to that next level and saying, well, everybody does offer this. I know that, they know that, and future employees know that. What makes us different? And so that's kind of what we're focused on today. Culture is a big one. And again, for those of you in the room, the slides are in the back. I put a bunch of terrific photography. You can't see it as well, but every once in a while, just turn around. One, here's a concept. I'll call it employalty. I like making up words, and I honestly think I did. About a year ago, I Google searched, there was nothing out there. Now there's a book coming out in May. It's How to Ignite Your Staff or something like that. I don't know how to trademark a word, but at the time, I'm pretty sure this wasn't a word. Employalty. So it's having a fun way to say there's got to be loyalty is mutual. Loyalty. Insurance reference there, but employalty means loyalty to an employer and loyalty from an employer. It's got to be both ways. So as you're developing a culture, make sure an employee knows what's in it for them. We're constantly thinking, well, how long is this employee going to stick around? And are they going to be loyal, or are they just looking for their next job, on their computer, looking for their next job while they're working here? It's not just employability that we need. It's not just employee loyalty, but this is employalty. Loyalty both ways. And it's very important too, as I mentioned, the language that we use, right? If you're going to have loyalty in both directions, you got to talk about it that way. You hear too often an employee say, well, I heard they're changing something now, or they're going to go to a different PTO system. It's like that should be we, and that language needs to start at the top. Too often it's separate. So internal language is terribly important, just like it is in any sort of marketing. A 30-second ad, you could fit a million concepts in there, but you really have to distill it and get what you mean and say it effectively. Branding, and this is the last kind of part that I'll, again, assuming that many of you might understand culture and branding, but when it comes to branding, the sum of all thoughts and feelings about a business. So when you think of a brand, you might start to feel a certain way. You might be excited. You might love the fact that they're into conservation or have social causes or make donations or invested in the community, those type of things. But internally, we just have to make sure that we know what that is, that we can state it. When somebody asks, what is your brand? You should be able to answer that. We should be able to say, well, this is what we stand for. This is who we are. And the culture is how we operate internally. So the brand is that public image, that perception from outside. This is what we stand for. And of course, brand and culture need to align, or there'll be a little bit of a disconnect when an employee says, you seemed like such a fun, great, socially minded business from the outside. Now that I work here, I just don't see that happening. Back to the integrity on the wall. Well, maybe we should check that. But the point is, we've got to make those two things align, because when a potential or future employee sees one thing and experiences a different thing, that's causes dissonance, and they're likely to become unhappy eventually, because people like to know what they're getting into. And you've got to be able to state it and live it. And for us, we like to say yes. We've sort of adopted that at Parkside as a culture and a brand, so that they align. Internally, we have a culture of yes, which means when somebody comes in, if you're working here, we've developed our brand behaviors. Don't cite a policy or a rule that doesn't allow somebody to do something, right? If we like to say yes, if we're positive and optimistic, we're going to say, perhaps there's a way we can do that. And so for living the culture and the brand, you've got people in alignment, and that makes a big difference. It's a consistent representation of your business. And once an employee starts working for us, it'll make sense to them. That's important, and it'll keep them there. A loyalty. As a friend of mine, Rebecca Johns, likes to say, if you're not modeling what you're teaching something else. So if they don't see what you're saying internally, then that's gonna create a break, and we're missing out on loyal employees or the chance to be that. So brand and culture alignment is very, very important. And we're going to pause here just for a second, whether there's questions or comments in the chat, great, but just sort of a quick recap summary, kind of halfway through here. The power of a tagline, right? Knowing how to say something succinctly that is effective and differentiating. That culture and brand are both important concepts that need to align, and that the language you use internally, it's important. Think more about it. Think about what you really mean and say it. Any questions or comments at all?
There was one line, apparently we had chat disabled. I apologize.
I'm sorry for the criticism. The chat was disabled, so 34 of you are back in the good.
So Sarah, yours commented on hers is flexibility is what we offer.
Flexibility is what we offer. Who doesn't want flexibility, right? And back to that point, it doesn't say everything. You have to be willing to, I mean, we offer financial services. We're a full service credit union, and we like to say yes. What does that mean? Well, that flexibility invites a conversation, right? It begs the question, how are you flexible with your employees? And that's just the tip of the iceberg, right? We have so many other benefits and things that we can offer as employers, but there's got to be a hook. And that's the sort of marketing mentality that I think we need to have. What makes somebody interested? Because it's not necessarily that you get a paycheck every 2 weeks, right? So this is a good summary. Anything else from the room here? Any questions or comments? I want to give an example of that brand and culture alignment. Again, we like to say yes. We've got a program called Parkside Pays, which is in simple forms is we go to a local business, our marketing team, generally a coffee or ice cream shop, and pay for people's purchases. I don't know if anybody has ever been surprised and delighted by that, but we'll just show up, we'll hang out and pay for people's purchases. They like coffee, they like ice cream, they're having fun. It's intentional. Our name is out there. We're supporting that local business and we're talking to people. We're hearing from people. And the point is, on the slide here especially, who really wants to come to the credit union? Nobody, almost nobody, right? I mean, for some, it's a social thing that they do every Thursday and get their cash for the weekend, and that's great, and we're there for them. But largely, we have more and more, a large percentage of people opening accounts online, applying for loans online. It's something you have to do, right? Have to stop by the credit union and make a deposit or whatever. People don't want to be there necessarily. I think it's important to consider that we should meet people right where they are. It's how many times we say, well, stop by, or you have to apply, or you're going to need to fill this out. Listen to my language there. You have to, you need to. And they'll say, I don't. I'm doing what I want to do. And we need to show up for them. And so the idea here is if we want to show people that we make banking fun and we want to show our brand, externally, then this is the way we do that. And you might see us, follow us on social media, Sweet Peaks, local coffee shops, and we'll just be out there with some signs and it'll be free. So follow us on Facebook or Instagram and you'll find out where we're going to be and get a free coffee because you want that. You showed up there. That's where you went intentionally. And there we are. And it's even better, right? But those are places where people are happy and they're having it's a treat. They're having a good time. We're associated with that. And the reason I bring it up here too is that I'll introduce you to Danae. She's a teller at our Whitefish branch. In fact, I think she advanced and was promoted to a team lead. We were at Sweet Peaks in Whitefish and she walked in and with her family, she had just moved here from California and wasn't sure what she was going to be doing. Her husband had a job and they moved into the area. We struck up a conversation. She said, well, I used to work in banking. And so we talked a little further and gave a little, business card with a QR code on it that she could apply if she wanted. I said, we have some hiring opportunities if you're interested. And you heard me say it a minute ago, Danae, she works at Parkside. She's a team lead in our teller team at our Whitefish branch. We met her there. She probably never would have walked into our doors. At least she has choices, right? She has choices of financial institutions, especially. But we met her where she was and were able to communicate our story. And she saw that in action, right? There we were. We bought her and her family ice cream. What's not to like? It looks like you guys have fun, is I'm pretty sure what she was thinking. And not that long later, she applied and she got a job at Parkside. She's still working there and she's happy and successful. Hopefully she found that our image out there is what we're practicing inside, and happy for her. And it's a neat story. So when you think about recruitment, go where they are, go where your people are. And I'll ask that question because I think it's worth it. Where are your people? Who do you employ? You know, Josh here from Cabela's, the Sportsman's Expo happened not that long ago, right?
Yep.
You're probably there. You probably have a presence there. A lot of the shows around, you know, are places to go that we go for marketing purposes a lot of times to promote our business. I bet a lot of the people there at a place like that for his business might be looking for a job or a second job or a different job. Go to where your people are. And I'd love to hear some examples because, you know, I can tell my stories, but where do you think your people are? An engineering firm, to get all the businesses, but where are your people? And it is sort of a pondered question, but since we're here together, let's see if we can come up with something. Where would you go to find your potential employees other than your other methods, right? I mean, where are they? For us, it's such a huge demographic. For us, it doesn't matter. I mean, we've anywhere from 18 to 80, you know, and somebody that can handle cash, right? That's our demographic in terms of recruitment. Somebody that can work remotely or somebody in one of our communities, but Missoula or the Flathead, the only credit union with branches in both Missoula and the Flathead. Anything, Laura, anything online? Where are your people? Where do you think your people are? Where could you see people that might be interested in conservation? I'll use that example because it's a good one. They're interested in conservation and feel like if they happen to be in that looking for a job, then here's a place that aligns with what I believe. And here's somebody that I like. And it makes sense. They're hiring.
I think that partially is that you need to be invested in the community and engaged in things like Leadership Flathead. And we always try to have at least one employee that's engaged in Leadership Flathead. And we do focus on our employees. We've had some significant growth that we're kind of struggling to put processes in place. It's like you get to a certain point, you're like, the things we
People,
used to all
processes,
do
platforms.
automatically.
Yeah.
You need to actually have it bullet points where you make sure you're touching on everything. But I think it can be just even in your employees, other than, of course, we have the college in Bozeman, we have a branch office there, and sometimes we'll go to job fairs but I kind of feel like in some ways it's just being engaged in your community where you can get that.
Yeah. Great comment here. Being engaged in the community, right? Because that's where the people that might work for you are. And of course, you know, engineering firm, she mentioned MSU, obviously students, you know, great place to do that. But somebody that we know the challenges and struggles of living here in the Flathead Valley, or, you know, lots of parts of Montana, wherever you're from. It's the people that are already here probably are a warmer lead than somebody who's considering moving here, especially at this time.
We do have a few in chat.
Okay.
Colleges, we've already mentioned that one.
Yeah.
Another one was coffee shops near college and medical offices.
Okay.
Another one was when everyone was getting laid off, our drivers were still working and people would still see them driving and would ask them how to work with us.
Okay.
High schools, coffee shops, libraries, school events, professional organizations, and conferences.
Okay. Great comments. Thank you.
I've got one.
Coffee shops. We'll see you there because apparently we all think coffee shops are a decent place to meet employees.
Job
Sarah?
fairs.
Job fair. Is there one coming up?
There's actually two. There's one in Big Fork on the 22nd.
Okay.
And the Northwest Montana Job and Opportunity Fair is on April 6th. at
April
the
6th. I was aware of that. 22nd. That's tomorrow. So get on that tagline. Great comments. Okay. Did I miss any? And we're already talking about this, but reputation is a huge thing, right? Word of mouth marketing is the best type of marketing because it doesn't cost anything, right? So you win a fan of your business, they'll tell somebody else, and that person will become a fan of your business. Hopefully, that's the idea. It's the same with recruitment. You know, your reputation as an employer, whether that's current employees or past employees, hopefully leave with a great impression. But the concept here that I want to highlight is that repetition is what equals reputation. And I believe this, and you see that in a lot of places. The things you do over and over again become who you are, right? That's true on an individual level as well as an organizational level. Your behaviors, your repeated, consistent behaviors become who you are. So if you're engaged in the community, that's your reputation. If you're an employer of choice, that can be part of your reputation. If you're continually producing things in the public, products, buildings, whatever it is that are exceptional, that becomes your reputation. There are a lot of builders around here. You use images and actual examples of your homes, and that becomes your reputation, a high-end builder. But the things you do over and over again, don't be afraid to think of it as this is not just one isolated event. Everything that you do adds up. And using that example that we're kind of going with, when you show up someplace, when we do our Parkside Pace campaign, that sounds kind of random, isolated. Why would you do that? Is it going to make a difference? And I think that's the temptation, is for us to think, is attending one job fair going to make a difference? Maybe, maybe not, but attending the job fair every single year, where a junior in high school saw you, when they came for the high school portion of it, and then saw you again as a senior. And now I'm ready as that young person to work someplace. I've seen you, I know you, I see a consistent face. Your reputation is that you show up and that you care. That makes a big difference. And so don't minimize the isolated activities that may seem like, where is this taking us? Or even a job fair as an example, a couple of hours of your day. Well, you'll hear that I can't leave the office for that long. Well, you're going to have to find people somewhere, because as I mentioned, recruitment's always going to be a task and a duty and a responsibility of a business owner or somebody at the helm of either HR or that human resources department in the business. You got to turn around and look at this slide. These are my boys, our boys. Oh, and you get the handout. I got you. Eyes up here then. That's right. Thank you.
They're cuter when they're big.
Yes. So I put them on this slide because as a marketer, more and more you hear big data. Data is a terrific buzzword in marketing, right? You want to use the information you have already to make an impact, whether it's with current customers or future customers. And so for us, the demographic is young people, right? Because I could ask each one of you, and where do you bank? And you'd probably say, where my parents opened me account, when I was young, and that's where I still bank. And that's okay, because we talk back, circling back at loyalty. If a business treats you well, hopefully you show loyalty to them. But the point is, you want to reach your future and potential employees at an impressionable age. I think, you all remember your first job, I'm sure, your first boss probably, and maybe that first date, right? That's an excellent chance. And at the job fair, I think there's a couple hours right at the beginning where high schoolers are being brought in. And so, like I said, you may think, well, that's not going to amount to anything. Maybe not today and maybe not next week, but eventually next year when they're ready. So you show up, but you use your data. All of us as business owners know our customers, or at least we should. Many of you might have a formal, customer relationship management software. You have a lot of information about people that buy from us or use our business or use our goods and services. And I think the idea here is, what makes a loyal customer? What do people like about your business? You can see how this is all tying in. Why do people buy from you? And you can so quickly and effectively move from, why would people work for me? So if you know your customers, you can all sell things. You are all successful in what you do. And somehow you've sold that, whether it's through developing your brand or the internal culture or forming your reputation. You know how to do that. Take that, your skills in selling your product, and use those same skills in recruiting potential employees, because you're still selling that job satisfaction, security, a situation, a future and professional development. But it takes intentionality to dig into your customer profile and decide who is it that I'm looking for and what do those people look like? Where might they be? And then tailoring a message to meet them where they are and speak to them about whatever concept that is important to you that you think will add to their employment. And what's that if not marketing? And I'll use another example, Lori. I'll introduce you to Lori. She's a terrific woman, very pleasant, has a little bit of experience in banking. She works at our Whitefish branch as well for now. People kind of start there. It's our headquarters and then move on out. But Lori, she's been telling there with us for a couple of months. And we decided it's specific. We have a lot of members. We have a lot of data on our members. In Whitefish, a part-time teller job is tough because it's Whitefish. It's tough to live there. You can't have a part-time job. And I can't believe this, but we hear so often, I don't want to drive 15 minutes to work. Somebody lives in Kalispell, and I get it. Gas is expensive, inflation and all these things, but how old am I? Like, you drive 15 minutes to work? Is that a big deal? Is that too much to ask? But it is sometimes. And so we recognize that. And we thought to ourselves, okay, with the help of Maureen and Jody in our HR department, how can we approach this from a marketing perspective? And we said, well, who is it that is going to be likely to take a job like that? We thought, well, maybe it's somebody who is a little older that has finished their career or had a career that they've moved on from, that already lives in Whitefish and that might be willing to take that part-time role. So we sliced and diced the data of our members and went for a certain age demographic, zip code, right? We could tell they're already living there because it's going to be, people don't want to drive and it's going to be too costly to move to Whitefish for a job like that. And here's an important concept. If people are buying from you, they already like you, so we figured if she's a member of the credit union, she already knows and likes Parkside enough to stay. And she fits our demographic. We tailored a message to her and showed things like, how can I be involved in the community? We showed a relaxing environment, all these things that somebody in that demographic might want. We sent an email, and I think you see a theme here. Lori works here at Parkside. She works in our Whitefish branch, and she's enjoying it. And that's how we found her. So 2 examples here. We met somebody where they were, shared our story. They work for Parkside. We reached out using the data that we have to communicate to somebody with a specific message. She works at Parkside. So use some of these tactics. And we already mentioned it here. I'm not gonna go too much into it, but community partnerships are a big deal. The more you're at things like this, and even social, networking events after hours, you're meeting people, whether it's themselves, a family member, a friend, somebody looking for a job. The more you're out there, the more opportunities you have to meet potential employees. The other thing is we offer that as an organization. The Parkside Partner Program is a specific nonprofit intentional investment in the community, and we involve our staff in that. There's a lot of opportunities, volunteer opportunities, but also in the process. So we choose these nonprofits. This year, I think 29 applied, and we end up choosing 6 between our 2 markets that we work with on a full year, for a full relationship with them, and we offer them cross promotion, shared advertising, employee volunteer support. But our employees are involved in that process from the start. They interview these candidates, the nonprofits, and they select them, and then they're paired up as liaisons to communicate with them, so kind of a point of contact. So we're informing our staff, they're opening their eyes to what's going on in the community, we're engaging them in the process, and then rewarding them by paying them to go volunteer for this cause that they decided was important. And so now, the folks I mentioned and the rest of us, we're not only cashing a check and checking the money in the vault, we are also volunteering at one of our favorite organizations and getting paid to do that. So community partnerships can work externally to show up and meet employees, future employees, but they also work internally to engage employees and make their job even more meaningful. So this goes back to building that internal culture so that when somebody wonders or hears from somebody else what it's like to work at your business, they get a great story and it aligns with what their thoughts and feelings already are. Gives meaning and purpose to that job. And something we find with that, continuing on that example, I can't state this enough, people like a personal invitation. They do, you do, I do, people do. We can send out all we want, a generic email that says volunteer opportunities available. Click here. And what do you imagine happens? It's easy to pass over. I'll do it later. When we send that information out, so people have some of the details, and then we walk by their desk and look them in the eye and ask them, hey, did you see that? Would you like to maybe come out and help us? Or we corner them in the break room. There's a few of us that work in marketing at Whitefish, and it's a great place to double team somebody until they say yes. And then we like to use the term voluntold, right? So we'll see you there. We leave that conversation saying, all right, we'll see you there. But the point is, we believe in it enough. It's not an obligation. We believe that somebody will be inspired by having that opportunity. But it's the same thing with potential employees. I mean, how easy is it to ignore open positions, inquire within? Okay. And I saw that every other door, with a year ago. People like to be invited, right? We like to say, you want to say things like, look somebody in the eye and say, we'd love to have you come and work for us. Say something like, you're exactly the type of person that we need on our team. Not, we have open positions, we're hiring, those are the most generic phrases we can use. But when you look somebody in the eye and say, you are the type of person that we need, people listen to that. They kind of perk up and pay attention. And that goes back to the language, the importance of language, a passive ask or a personal invitation. And, we've got to reward those people. We can't get into it completely, but recruit, reward, retain. Don't forget about that middle part, right? We want to recruit people, but once they're there, we've got to show them that we value them just as much as that initial invitation sounded like. And she doesn't work there anymore, but Mia worked across the street up in Whitefish. Our Safeway's across the street, and a lot of us, go in there at lunch or maybe after work to pick up some groceries. And I saw her, and a couple of us did, and she was very pleasant. And, she was a cashier there, and we go through a line and kind of say, noticed the type of person that she is and how she may fit into our culture and maybe a potential great employee. So we kind of said, if you're looking for something, you seem like the type of person that would fit in at Parkside. And it went from that to the next time I went in there, put my business card, over, say, just, if you're interested, it's easy to apply, and bringing up some of those benefits, the what's in it for me. We have pretty much regular hours. You're already handling cash. You're very pleasant. It seems like you could really fit in on our team. And eventually I think she's Miss Alaska, or she was in Alaska in the Miss Alaska running or something like that. But Mia worked at Parkside for over a year, and it was because she couldn't say no. A number of us kept going over there and saying, we need you to work for us. So there's some, but not a lot of shame in stealing employees. Let's try not to do it from each other. But when you notice somebody, if you've gone through these steps and you've marketed your position to others, you understand it enough to say, this person is the person that we need. And then there should be no shame in saying, we want you. We want you to come and work for us. And people love that, right? I would love that if somebody pointed me out and singled me out and said, you're the type of person that we want on our team. And so don't forget the power of, even at something like a job fair, or when you're out in the community, or when you're networking, you seem like the type of person that would be a great fit at our organization. Versus open positions, inquire within. Now hiring, we're hiring. And so I will mention that, because the things I've said kind of lead us to this, where there's one on tomorrow as well, but on the 6th of April, a job fair is worth your time to go there, but you've got to have intentionality and effort. And if you can develop some of these things prior to that, I think you'll feel more confident, rather than just showing up and standing behind the table. I find it's a lot more, you have a lot more success standing in front of your table. You set up at any sort of thing behind your table. There's that between us, right? It's if you get out and engage with people and look them in the eye and invite them to maybe apply. Job fair is a great place to do that. But my suggestions for that, I hope are relevant. Bring fun people. Not everybody is the perfect person to showcase your business. Certain people love interacting with others. You want your highly engaged, tenured employees there, or even dare I say, a marketer. Bring that person that's used to being out in the community and talking to people, and fun people, because I think potential employees are more attracted to attractive people than to attractive benefits. That's great that you have health insurance and PTO, but they might say, what is it like working there? They'll start a conversation. I think I might like to work with you. You seem like a fun person. And that sort of is a representation of that internal culture. And people, I said it before, people don't move into things they don't know. We get into things that we know. And so you don't want to make it confusing. I thought you were this type of business. Now I see this type of person here. That doesn't make any sense to me. I'm not feeling comfortable stepping into that. So moving from confusion to clarity. And then, of course, we talked about how important that first impression is and how young people, generally speaking, are impressionable. And so here's just a summary, again, of kind of what we've gone over. Developing that tagline, crafting your brand and culture and making sure they align, caring enough about your reputation and community investment to put together an organized effort. And then, is that the last one there? Oh, and then the power of a personal invitation. And so that's marketing, and that's how we can use it in recruitment. And the ultimate goal, I think, is if you can sell your product, you're successful, you sell your job opportunities in the same way. So it's not learning a whole new thing. It's applying what you know and what you're skilled at to accomplish something very similar. Differentiate and then communicate. So that's the end of what I wanted to say. And I know it's a lot, but I hope you take some of these practices and some of these pointers and use them, whether it's right away or the next time you're hiring. But I think we're almost always recruiting. If you don't have an open position, you probably will soon. So keep these things in mind. And otherwise, thank you. We take any questions or comments.
Actually, I think we're pretty close on time unless we've got one
Okay.
last short question for today.
Well, I have one.
Okay,
So Josh, what
Yeah.
if we just don't think like a marketer? Like I love your examples. It's like, yeah, how come I didn't think about that?
Yeah.
So what can we do?
Well, you can call me. I'd be happy to consult. My email's there and some information on the rest of the slides. But yeah, I'd be happy to consult for a few $100s in a few hours. I'll tell you, I'll give you one sentence, right? That's what I'll produce. But I think the idea is to think like a business owner and think what you're selling and apply that to it. I think most people are marketers more than they know, right? Marketing might be this field where you're thinking, that's not me. We don't even employ a marketer. It's not my background. I don't know how to do that. If you're selling something, you can sell this. You just need to reframe it and rethink recruitment.
Thank you.
Yeah.
all right. Well, I guess that's going to wrap it up. And thank you again, Josh Kroll, for gifting your time and sharing your expertise on this topic today. We will leave Josh's contact information up at the end in case you have any further questions for him. And this wraps up the March 2023 Blueprint for Business Success Spring Seminar. Within the next week, all registrants will receive an email with access to the recording, as well as any handouts and relevant links from today. Please follow Job Service Kalispell on social media and subscribe to our business email list to catch the next blueprint and stay current on upcoming events. Lastly, we appreciate your feedback in the anonymous survey that will pop up when you click on Leave at the end of the seminar. Your feedback helps us improve the program and offer future topics and content that is useful to Montana businesses. Thank you for attending.
Thank you.